Hello everyone. Because we have friends from local friends, so mainly I will use English, and I also use Hongkongese or Cantonese, whatever you want to call the language. But my name is Winston. It is a fake name, so you call me Winston, I may not reply you that immediately, because but this is just a name. Today, I'd like to share my story living in Manchester, in the UK. Like most of you here, I settled in the UK through BNO visa, and I came to the UK last year. It was over a year because I arrived at the UK in May last year. The weather this year is warm later than last year, but it is a lot of memory during this year in my settlement experience. I'm a father. I have two children, one son and one daughter. My son is 6 years old. My daughter is 2.5 years old. So, like most of you here, we are from Hong Kong. We give up a lot of things and we settle here. And we were facing a lot of challenges while in the settlement. But beforehand, I would like to ask the friends from local or it's not from Hong Kong. We have always face an issue. What do you think about Hongkongese or Hong Kongers and then Chinese? Then, what do you think about the difference between the Chinese and the Hong Kongers?
Well, there's a huge cultural difference.
The cultural difference, yeah, and other differences, because cultural difference we may not recognize the differences.
Sure, language, for example.
Yeah, and I would also like to ask one more question. When we encounter on the street, while you encounter like me an Asian face, then what do you think? What is the heritage of this person, this gentleman? Is a Chinese or a Hong Kongers?
Do I find it difficult to tell?
You guess when you encounter in the street, then what is the first impression? And could you differentiate? Oh, this gentleman is a Hong Kongers instead of Chinese.
So I've had some friends from Hong Kong for a long time, so I find it easier to differentiate between Hong Kong and mainland Chinese. But you're right in that I find it more difficult to differentiate people from Asia than people in Asia.
Yes, that's so true. From my story, I think it's very similar to most of you here, friends. We are facing also a challenge to make sense of our identity. Our identity is I was born in Hong Kong. I was grown in Hong Kong, and I received the education in Hong Kong. So after 1997, actually we are not as hate. We will not hate hate China very much. It is directly reflected in the identity survey in Hong Kong in the past decades. Especially the highest nationalist recognition about we are a Chinese identity is in 2008. About 2008, it is Olympic game in Beijing, and then we have a lot of trade and business between the Hong Kong and China. So it is very complicated. Our identity is never settled because from the British colony, we are not defined as a British. After the return to the sovereignty to the mainland China, we are not fully recognized as a Chinese. At least we hold a different passport. We have different identity. We need to have special documents to return to China. I don't know the Chinese, the English name is about what is 回鄉證? Is it a document, travel document? Hong Kongers to return to China, we need to cross the border. We use that special documents to prove that we will return to the Hong Kong. So we are always, our identity is not settled. To the 2019, when we arrived at the UK, we also bring this struggle to the UK, especially in my past year. We are experiencing settlement experience a lot in the previous years. I always questions who am I. While we are assessing the service, assessing the local institutions, all the people think of you about it is a Chinese. Then that's a simple question. If we recognize we are 100% Chinese, why we are here? Why are we settled in the UK? Why don't we have a good relationship with so-called our mainland China and continues our life? Why we give up all the things we are established in Hong Kong and we settled here? It's a struggle. I don't know if friends here will share my emotion, but I really need some time to go through these questions. How to talk about our identity? How do I perform my identity in a new place? That is no experience because we are in Hong Kong. Like over 19% of population in Hong Kong are from Chinese heritage. We use Cantonese to communicate. We have a shared lifestyle, and while we are settled in the UK, we need to told the new place, new people, bit by bit, step by step. Who am I? Why we are here? Why many Hong Kongers or all the Hong Kongers using BNO visa to the UK share some political concern? We are just ordinary Hong Kongers. I'm not a frontline activist. I'm just a father, a college lecturer, a researcher, working in an NGO in Hong Kong. So I'm just ordinary people. Then why? I think a lot of local people may not know that. Why we share the concern. We are worrying about the society is deteriorating, and why we are give up all the things. Well, we are established in Hong Kong, and bring all the family, all our family to be settled in the UK. So my experience about is we establish bit by bit. And then in language, actually, I can share all of you that while last year when I arrived at the UK, I even cannot adjust the accent. I always cannot understand what the sales are talking about when I go to the till and asking the standard dialogue. And while I received the phone call from the phone company, I can't adjust the accents and the speed of English, and so that I always say sorry, pardon. This is very interesting. And then but times go. I realized that they have a standard script, and then I just answer them the yes or no, and yes, then to go through all the steps, and I have a clear. I try to guess what they're saying, because just like Cantonese or Hongkongese, we are talking about, we are always not understand word by word. So we just grasp the meaning. So. But after practice of a few months, and then I got through that barrier. Then my son, because my father, I was always worried my son, who is a year 1 student in primary school, and then just like a lot of 5 or 6 years old children in Hong Kong, they don't know words, they know schooling experience because COVID, they just attend a few months school, kindergarten in Hong Kong, then they come to the UK. It's very challenging because in Hong Kong, every kindergarten students may need to attend one session, so just 3 hours in the morning or 3 hours in the afternoon school. But while they're 5 years old, they need to go to this primary year one. Then they have a full day schooling. They need to have lunch by themselves. They need to go to the toilet by themselves. They need to drink water themselves. They need to deal with all the things by themselves. So I was really worried about my son's settlements in the UK, because he did not have any English proficiency, because he didn't know English. So in the first quarter of my son's settlement in the school, he could not communicate with his his classmates, and because my son's just I shared this observation with some Hong Kong parents. Our children, our Hong Kong children, they seem to be very passive in their social interaction with their classmates, because in Hong Kong, the school always help them to develop a discipline instead of developing their capacity. How to compile with the section, the schooling sections, how to keep quiet and listen to the teachers, but while my son and their fellow Hong Kong classmates start their schooling here, and one of the really a huge change is the school try to develop themselves. Develop their capacity. They lead them to talk, to express their view. They express what they thought. My son used 3 or 4 months to. It's very surprising. I was very proud of him, because just 3 or 4 months before Christmas, he can communicate with his classmates in English, and then talk about what he wants, what he needs. Especially, the classmates play with him roughly, because children, always played with the, and they forgot everything. Then how to set the boundary, how to ask help from the teachers, how to settle any the conflict with the classmates, and it all depends on the English and their language capacity. And I was very proud of my son. He can talk about himself. Then the courage, the motivation I learned from my son. I believe that my son can do that. Why I can't do so? So in the previous year, I actively engaged in the community and helped the Hong Kong people to settle in my living area, and I really observed that, I really believe that, or I really have experience about how to go beyond my comfort zone. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I know there's been quite a lot of noise outside, but it's just that we had to keep, apparently for fire safety, to keep this door open. Just really grateful for Winston for sharing, quite brave actually I think, to come and share his story, because I think a lot of the time in Hong Kong, we just need to be careful what we share. But I think it's so positive that you're sharing how you're noticing your children are adapting so much faster. And I was just wondering if anybody in the audience, if you have any questions that you might want to ask Winston, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Anything that you think?
Is there any questions? Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's from.
Yeah.
I have a friend, and in the 90s, early 90s, his family moved to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a Hong Kong Cantonese guy. So he complained to me, he said, because I was growing up in Canada as a child, I think he was 5 years old whenever they moved to Canada. So then he was saying, whenever I meet Hong Kong people, a lot of the time, Cantonese people, they identify me as a foreigner. So he's very westernized in his mannerisms, he's picked up Canadian mannerisms, the way he moves his hands or something, and people see him as another kind of, he's still Cantonese, but he's a different kind of Cantonese to them. So do you think, are you worried about that a little bit with your children?
Yes, I just yesterday or a couple of days ago, in a gathering with my friends, and we bring all our children to pray together. And in the dinner time, we asked each a child, which language do you want to speak? Hongkongese, Cantonese, or English? Then all of them said, "Oh, I like speak English instead of Hongkongese or Cantonese." But at home, we frequently use Hongkongese or Cantonese to communicate. But it is very interesting. They are Hongkongese or Cantonese getting worse. They cannot express their feelings, their thoughts while using so-called their mother tongue. It is inevitable to go through, because there is lack of systematic education in Cantonese Chinese character. We cannot motivate them to write more Chinese character and then use Hongkongese to express themselves. So sometimes they will shift. They smoothly shift, change the channel, or from Cantonese Hongkongese to English. So we are worried about that, but we cannot avoid that. It is the same as the second generation of immigrants. My son said, I use English to communicate with my classmates 5 or 6 hours a day, and they talk everything. But at home, we use Hongkongese and Cantonese to talk about, okay, have dinner, son. Have you go to toilet, son? Go to sleep. It's very simple conversation. We rarely have opportunity to teach them, to provide them an opportunity to use more complicated terms or vocabulary to express their feelings. So a lot of parents in my living area, in my community, also are worried about that. Yeah. Yeah, but let's see how it goes. Maybe there's some people who have that capacity who can organize some Cantonese or Hong Kongese choir, storytelling groups, or something else to help them to motivate them to speak more Hong Kongese or Cantonese. Yeah. Any other questions about this part about settlement, about our second generation, and then identity issues and.
依家有人話，呢個中國人係咪中國人咁樣點樣答？
哦，咁啊，
So I just let it back and translate for you.
Yeah.
So this gentleman just asked, oh, if someone came up to you and said, oh, you're just Chinese, you're Chinese, aren't you? Well, how would you respond?
好簡單嘅，我係香港人，咁香港人咁，因為我哋一定有個概念，OK 得 OK。Then I will present myself as a Hong Konger because I deeply understand that identity have different layers. We have from identity from different sources because we did have a close connection with China, and as my parents is born in China, and they go to Hong Kong one in 1980s, one in 1980s. So it is a very common demographic background of the Hong Kong people. So we cannot deny that we have some Chinese heritage in our identity, but but the Hong Kong society, the experience of living in the Hong Kong society occupies most of our identity because the Hong Kong society provides us a very strong and a much source to establish our identity because because Hong Kong is a financial city. On the one hand, the financial city is people earning money, earning big money, earning fast money. But on the other hand, living in Hong Kong, we have a freedom of speech. We have fast information circulation. So a lot of information about the China, we have that kind of information. We have the first line, the front line to receive that kind of information. That's why we share some heritage from China. But we are from the perspective of Western countries, UK, US, Europe. We are trying to observe China as a foreigner, as an outlier, instead of Chinese citizens or residents. They cannot Google, they cannot use YouTube. So that's a very different because that's why we are struggling. We are not Chinese because at least I can share one of my experience when I applied my PhD in 2011 or 12, and I consider two universities in the UK because I thought that the university is very prestigious, famous. One of is the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and I found that there was scholarships for the Chinese student. Then I asked that fund that I'm from Hong Kong. I hold a Hong Kong passport. Then am I eligible to apply that kind of grant? But the reply is very straightforward. Then you are not Chinese because you are not holding a Chinese passport in 2011. So I went to Canada to study my PhD in sociology. That's why the struggling. Then the Hong Kong passport in the past, in 2019 or 2020, I don't know, while the Hong Kong government or the Chinese government no longer recognize the BNO passport, then I don't know why. When Hong Kong passport is one of the Chinese passport, because just my case, I asked, I'm a Chinese, please give me the scholarship. And they reject my application. So that's why the identity we are struggling. One of the most of the time we are struggling about our identity. We're trying to act like not a Chinese, but we are finding a way to differentiate Hong Kong and Chinese, but the local community always think that what is different if you are speaking Japanese, Korean, maybe it's more easier to differentiate, or your food is totally different. We can easier to differentiate you difference from Chinese, but it is very. It is a kind of our selection, which identity we would like to pick up. We cannot deny it. We have some heritage, but from Chinese heritage, but we are more willing to pick up the Hong Kong identity to present ourselves. But it is one of our. We are exercising our freedom to talk about ourselves, to talk about our perspective as a people, as a human. We do have our unique history. We know maybe a lot of people may not understand. Oh, you guys be visa holders. You come to the UK. Maybe you're not, or the Chinese government always think Hong Kong people do not understand what is going on in China. So you don't love your country because you do not understand how strong the nation is. So that is bullshit, because we know a lot. At least we have family connection with. In China, it's very common, and we have a lot of information about newspaper, but now those newspapers are all shut down. We have a lot of experience to. I think most of us, not most of us, we have different stage, and then while we in the very beginning, I was born in 1980s, which is still a British colony. A lot of people may not understand why we are so thankful. We feel so thankful to Britain, to the United Kingdom, because the UK provides us a freedom of speech, freedom to do everything, the rule of law, and modernization. Also protect us from a lot of tragedies from the mainland China, such as the Cultural Revolution, to 4th of June, a lot of conflict in the communist parties and instabilities, a lot of things, because we are colonized by the UK. So especially after the 1970s, that is the era of development, Hong Kong in terms of the society, economy, political system, legal system. We know that in terms of name, we are colony, but we observe what we are feeling that the UK is not governed as a colony, as a colonist. So that is very different. While we start talking about our history, we are very proud of we are governed by the UK, because if we have our achievement all from there, because the UK bring us to face the world, and we did have a connection with China, that is the second stage. After the return of sovereignty to the mainland China, we suddenly being a window of China to trade, to communicate with the world. Here, it's difficult to talk about ourselves. I think most of us may watch the internal affair, the movie 無間道. Yeah, we are also standing at a great area. On the one party, we have some connection. It seems there's insiders of one party, and also and members of another party. So we are always stand in the middle of the two, the world and in the China. It is very unique in Hong Kong. Yeah, questions?
Sorry to interrupt. I think it's quite helpful that you sort of spoke out how grateful Hong Kong is. Because normally when you're colonized, you kind of feel like somebody's taking over you, but you've expressed that actually UK has actually given Hong Kong people more freedom. And I was just wondering if anybody in the audience ever experienced any of these sort of identity sort of differences, or I know one of you had asked, what would you say if someone said you were Chinese? I mean, does anybody have any, I was just wondering, do you have any questions in terms of what you want to find out about Hong Kong? Or, I don't know, or do people, because I know a lot of people come up to me and they say, oh, Japan, Hong Kong, China, they're the same to me. And I'll say, I can appreciate it because we all look the same, which is good, we're all humans. And then also in Europe, British, German, French might appear the same to Asian people as well, but actually have very diverse and very beautiful cultures. And I was just wondering if anybody had any sort of thoughts in terms of questions that you might want to ask Winston. What kind of, I don't know, what you want to learn about Hong Kong culture or Chinese culture, or if you want to share.
Yeah, questions. Yeah, great.
I'd like to know, in your personal opinion, what is the actual time, the feeling of Hong Kong population about belonging? So they feel like an independent country with their own identity, or they like to belong, I don't know, to the Western civilization, or do you feel like there is a strong attachment to the China history, culture, future? So I'm curious to know, like, Hong Kongers, how do they view themselves? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, these are very great questions about the culture, the sense of belonging to the culture. In Hong Kong, I think the Hong Kongers may share some of my observation or feelings. We have some Chinese cultures. We will celebrate the Lunar New Year. We will celebrate Mid-Autumn festivals. We have a family cultures, and how we need to. We are very emphasizing the family unity, and we emphasize the division of labor in the families, and even the children get married, and they do have some responsibilities to their original family, but we are putting in the other situation, other context to understand the Chinese culture. Hong Kong, I think one of the predominant culture is the Confucianism. It's a very Chinese traditional culture. It's about the philosophy, but while we are living in Hong Kong, we are just layer the culture. The traditional Chinese culture I think may not still in China. And a lot of our historical materials are in Taiwan, and in Tang Dynasty, the culture is in Japan. In Songqiu, as its own destiny's culture is in Korea. Then we are seeing that in Hong Kong, Confucianism, 儒家文化 culture, we still have some of them in our social relations, social interaction. Instead of we always think about the relationship between nature and human. We are how to go through the 天人合一、天人合德嗰啲 that kind of philosophical achievement. I think Hong Kong people is a mix between the Chinese cultures, Chinese cultures and then the Western cultures, but we need to put a wider context to talk about the Chinese, the so-called Chinese culture. Chinese is a cultural identity instead of a national identity, legal identity. So that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's obvious that Hong Kong is influenced by the UK rule, but obviously the UK hasn't been as influenced by Hong Kong. So I'm interested in this kind of what were the biggest culture shocks you got when you came to the UK? What were the biggest differences in either culture or food? Or obviously there's huge amount of differences there, but what were the big differences?
Yeah, the culture shock is I personally I am not representative of the friends here. I no longer can eat original Japanese food in the UK. So I miss that so much. In Hong Kong, we are very easy to eat delicious Japanese food, and then we even go to the Japan, go to the Taiwan to enjoy the Chinese food. So one of the cultural shock is food, but we share a lot of common food between the Hong Kongers and the UK, and the biscuits, the baked bean. I always said that baby. I don't like it, but because I eat too much. Yeah, fish and chips. Yeah, we are not. We do not have much time to adjust, but because we know that. But one of the thing is we cannot enjoy the other Asian food in the UK. Yeah, that is the very common meal, common dishes in Hong Kong. Yeah.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but thank you so much all for your kind patience and questions and for sharing as well. We just wanted to now, perhaps we can get Winston to summarize any key points that you want the audience to take away. And then what we want to do next is to do a bit of a lucky draw, because we want to give you guys some prizes, and then we've got some food downstairs that we would like you guys to perhaps taste, give us an opinion. But before we do all of that, any other questions, or if Winston can give us 2 or 3 things that we can take away, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I can summarize several points. The first one is the identity struggle, identity politics, and Hong Kong people is actively pick up the Hong Kong identity instead of reducing the Chinese heritage, because we need to establish ourselves, establish our culture. We need to differentiate. Because we are here because we want to be different. Maybe that is a bit politically incorrect, but that's why we are here. This is one of our history. One of our way to present to establish ourselves. So identity, Hong Kongers is that our identity. And another thing, we are willing to integrate because we enjoy to be an ordinary people in the UK. We just live as usual as we are in British governance. Just the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of everything, rule of law, and we also need the community support us to go through this transition. because we share some values, we share some cultures, but we really, this first time we are settled here, build our new homes here, we do have a lot of challenges, and then we need the support from the community. But anyway, I'm very pleased to settle here. At least I can talk what I want, and do what I want, and to establish. But it takes time. But yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think that does summarize the importance of being able to share your feelings and thoughts without being scared or being punished for them. So thank you so much for coming out here, because I know Hong Kong is at the moment very sensitive on what they're sharing, because it can be easily misinterpreted and can lead them to jail. So I think, can I give you a round of applause for
多謝晒大家。OK。